For years, the public has been told a simple story about Meghan Markle, an outsider, a love match, a modern fairy tale that collided with an ancient institution. But according to resurfacing emails, testimonies, and long-whispered allegations now circulating again online, that story may have been incomplete long before the wedding bells rang. This is not about proving guilt, and it is not about rewriting history with certainty. It is about understanding why certain questions were never asked loudly, why timelines feel misaligned, and why silence has repeatedly replaced clarity. Because what troubles critics is not a single name or a single allegation, but a pattern, one that appears to pivot sharply around the year 2016. The same moment Meghan Markle's life intersected publicly with Prince Harry's before that year. By most elite documentation standards, Meghan barely registered. She attended events, moved through creative circles, appeared at Soho House gatherings, but she was logged as background presence, not protected asset. Then something changed. Suddenly, her name begins to appear in communications connected to powerful intermediaries. Not constantly, not loudly, but precisely where influence matters. This is the point where skeptics stop calling it coincidence, because in elite environments, timing is everything. When Prince Harry made their relationship public and accused the press of targeting Meghan, her profile didn't just rise, it transformed. To some observers, she became valuable not because of who she was, but because of who she was attached to. And value in those circles attracts attention, protection, and sometimes containment, according to claims now being discussed across independent platforms. Meghan's movements during this period also began to shift in ways that raised eyebrows among those who pay attention to logistics rather than headlines. Private jet travel arranged through billionaire networks, invitations that bypass traditional hierarchies, access that seemed disproportionate to her professional standing at the time. None of this proves wrongdoing, but it does suggest sponsorship, and sponsorship is never random. One frequently cited example is a private jet trip to Jamaica in early 2017, allegedly arranged through Soho House founder Ron Burkle, while Prince Harry himself reportedly flew commercial. To critics, that detail matters not because of luxury, but because billionaires do not extend that level of access without strategic reason. From this point forward, the narrative shifts from Meghan moving independently to Meghan being moved. Not pushed, not forced, but positioned. And when positioning intersects with institutions already battling reputational landmines, decisions stop being romantic and start becoming strategic. This is where the Jeffrey Epstein shadow enters the conversation, not as an accusation, but as a context. Epstein's world was not casual. It was curated, documented, and monitored by those who understood power. Names circulated quietly, not because everyone was guilty, but because proximity alone carried risk. According to the claims, Meghan's name begins appearing in communications connected to Epstein's extended social orbit after 2016, not before. That distinction is critical. If true, it would suggest her relevance to that world was triggered not by her own rise, but by her royal proximity. And this is where the silence becomes louder than denial. Because when Prince Andrew's association with Epstein exploded into public scandal, the palace did not confront, it contained. Settlements were paid, appearances withdrawn, narratives controlled. That same institutional instinct, critics argue, may explain why no appetite existed to aggressively question Meghan's past once she was linked to Prince Harry, not because of fear of her, but because of fear of collateral damage. One of the most controversial claims within these discussions involves Virginia Giuffre, whose testimony played a key role in exposing Epstein's crimes. According to the transcripts circulating among independent commentators, Giuffre allegedly named Meghan Markle as a potential witness, not a victim, not an accused party, but someone present enough within elite environments to observe. Allegedly, she also named in Prince Charles as a potential witness. Whether these claims ever appeared in formal court filings remains disputed, but their existence alone explains the media paralysis surrounding the topic. Because once allegations even theoretically brush the future king, journalism stops being curiosity-driven and becomes survival-driven. Editors no longer ask, "Is this true?" They ask, "What happens if we print this?" And that is where stories die quietly. What makes this narrative dangerous is not that it accuses, but that it connects. Emails allegedly referencing Meghan through Sarah Ferguson, Prince Andrew's former wife, are cited as further evidence that Meghan was not unknown within royal-adjacent social networks prior to her official entry into the family. If those emails exist as claimed, then the image of Meghan as a complete outsider collapses. It doesn't mean wrongdoing occurred. It means awareness existed. And awareness changes responsibility. Because once the palace knows, every subsequent decision becomes intentional, allowing the relationship to proceed, fast-tracking public protection, issuing unprecedented statements defending Meghan from the press. All of it begins to look less like love and more like risk management. The most unsettling aspect of this entire story is that it does not rely on scandal to function. It relies on timing. The emails allegedly stop when Epstein is arrested in 2019. That detail matters. If the communications documented rise and fall, not origin, then they tell a story of protection, not discovery. And protection suggests leverage. Critics argue this is why mainstream media refuses to engage deeply. Not because they are shielding Meghan, but because pulling one thread risks unraveling the entire fabric of royal containment surrounding Epstein, Andrew, and institutional failure. Once that box is reopened, there is no closing it again. In the end, this story does not claim certainty. It claims discomfort. It exists in the space between what has been said and what has been avoided. Meghan Markle may be innocent of every implication. She may simply be another figure swept into a storm she did not create. But what remains undeniable is that questions surrounding her past were never answered with transparency, only with silence. And in systems built on hierarchy and control, silence is rarely accidental. It is chosen. That is why this story refuses to disappear. Not because people want a villain, but because they want honesty. And until clarity replaces containment, speculation will continue to grow in the vacuum left behind.